Welcome back to GOT. On this cold winter day, we're going to do one of the most requested comparisons that I've had in months. That is the Honor Magic V5 versus the Honor Magic 8 Pro. Let's go. So I've had the Honor Magic 8 Pro for about a month now, and I'm really loving it. Now, prior to this, of course, you know that the Honor Magic V5 has been my favorite phone and got my favorite phone for last year, and I'm really loving it. And one of the biggest features of this thing is, of course, you can open it up and you have the large screen on the inside. That's one feature that you, of course, don't get with a bar phone. But in this video, we're going to go ahead and overlook that aspect, and we're going to compare these things head to head because a lot of you want to know. So let's start with the day-to-day. So now let's go ahead and look at the software on both of these real closely. You can see they're both using the same software here. They both have the Magic OS 10. And the big difference between the two phones is you've got a Snapdragon 8 Gen 5 in the new one, and of course the Snapdragon 8 Gen Elite in the original one. So just one step above in the Magic 8. And then, of course, you've got 16 gigs of RAM in the Honor Magic V5 and only 12 in the 8 Pro. Now, that doesn't make a whole lot of difference, I don't think, in your day-to-day use. Then, of course, on the 8 Pro, you have a 17 milliamp hour battery versus a 5,820 milliamp hour battery in the Honor Magic. Now, that's not bad for a foldable. That's still a really good sized battery. Now, when you look at the two of these side by side, they look pretty much the same. They're identical. Your apps, everything sets up the same. You get the large folders, small folders. You can shape them any way you want, long, across. It's really great that you can customize these things better than most any other phone as far as on the display here. And of course, on the Magic 8, you have the longer island there because it has a 3D sensor for face mapping, so you can actually get more secure with your face unlock. So I use it for my banking apps. Not quite the same with the Honor Magic V5. It just has that one little hole punch for a camera. But they both have, I believe, 20 megapixel, actually a 20 megapixel camera on the Honor Magic V5, but a 50 megapixel on the 8 Pro, which is crazy. Now, when you use the both of them, they both work the same. They both really are smooth. As you can see here, they both flow really well. And I really like the fact that you can do kind of a 3D setup here on the main screen. And they both are very much the same as far as that goes. Easy to pinch, go into all the settings, do all that customizing. They're both the same. They're really a joy to use, either one of them. So you're not going to get any difference as far as performance, I believe, on the daily, even with the 8 Pro having the faster chip, quote unquote. We'll go into some real specs and performance between the two of them together and really see how it performs here shortly. Now, looking at this island real closely, you can see here, when you have music playing in the background, they both use the island up above, and you can tap it to watch the music and control the music right there. And then after a while, of course, they just kind of shrink down. And then also when you use it, you can actually use it on the cover screen. So when your phone is off, you can just tap it, and then you can actually control the music playing or playback function right there on the cover screen. And that's really nice and nifty on both of them. Then, of course, when you go back into it, you can tap that island or double tap it and open up the app itself and then control it directly. So it's really nice the way it works. Now, both of these are great about unlocking. They do face, like I said, unlocking, but the 3D sensor on the Magic Pro, 8 Pro, that is much faster and much more accurate. And for some reason, I found that on the Honor Magic, it'll unlock my face, but I still have to tap the screen to get it to open. Not a big deal. It's just something different. And then, of course, when you unlock them, you can unlock with your finger on the side on the Honor Magic V5. But with the 8 Pro, you have the under display finger unlock. So on both of them, the camera features are pretty much the same as far as where everything's in place. The difference is here on the filtering that you want to set up for these cameras. If you want to pre-set up how you take your photos or your videos, you've got a lot more options on the 8 Pro, as you can see here, where you've only got your 3 main on the V5, which is what, authentic, natural, and vibrant. So you got the 3 main settings I actually use natural on both of them, so it doesn't really matter to me that it's got all those settings on the 9 Pro, but if you're one that likes all those filters, well, the 9 Pro's got quite a few. Now, I do want to talk a little more about performance on these two. You would have the assumption, and your assumption is correct, that the Honor Magic 8 Pro has the faster processor, so it should outperform the V5 having last year's model. Well, let's check out this performance test. I put them all on the table, and I put the Samsung S25 Ultra right next to them. And as you can see here, they all look like they're finishing around the same, but the Honor Magic V5 pulls out in the lead and finishes first. And then shortly behind that is the S25 Ultra. Why is the one with the fastest chip not finishing first? As a matter of fact, it's not only last, it's like 45 seconds behind the other two. That's crazy. Well, I've done some research and found out that, when you do a test benchmark on these things, check them out. I did the benchmark on all three, and you find that the Honor Magic 8 Pro does score the highest on the benchmarks because it's supposed to have the fastest chip. So on paper, it looks like it's fast. And then right behind it actually is the S25 Ultra because it has that overclocked chip from last year. So it should finish that just before or score a little bit higher than the Honor Magic V5, which as you can see, it does. So on paper, they finish like they're supposed to, but when real world testing, Honor Magic V5 beats both of them. Now, if you want to know why that happens, check out my previous video when I tested this against the Vivo X300 Pro. But to just give you a quick brief on it, they actually underclock this thing simply for thermals. So maybe a faster chip because of thermals, they make it throttle so it does not overheat. So supposedly that'll help it in the long run continue to be steady, especially if you're gaming. But as far as folks like myself, when I do editing on my phone, it's the slowest out of the bunch. So I got folks asking me, should they wait and get the Vivo X300 Ultra so they can get the Snapdragon chip? I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference. So as you can see in my test, day-to-day use, they run about the same. And then when you use performance and really push it, the V5, last year's model, beat the newer one. Now, I do get a lot of folks ask me about the Magic Desktop and how that performs on these phones. Does it perform any better on the 8 Pro versus the V5? No, it's about the same. As you can see here in my test, I first hook up the V5 and run it. And look at this thing. This thing runs really smooth on desktop, and they've really improved it from the last time I used it. It works great. As a matter of fact, I plug it into a touchscreen, and the touchscreen works with it connected. So I'm loving that. So it works really well on the V5. No issues. You can actually run multiple apps. It will pop to the side, as you can see here, when you drag, and it'll lock to the side. Then you can open up a second app just like it's supposed to. I love that. And then, of course, you have the X, the minus, the square, and the X at the top, just like you do on Windows. So you can shrink it down and enlarge it or actually close out the app. Makes it really nice. It's very intuitive doing it that way. And as you can see here, I can open up tons of apps. I don't know how many apps I ended up opening. I just got tired of doing it, so I stopped. But it ran smooth the whole time. And you can maneuver and place apps anywhere you want them. So that's really great. Now, the one thing about the Magic V5, it does not turn off the screen. If you try to turn off the screen for some reason, it will no longer remain open with the desktop. It closes it off. You're cable linked, but for some reason, it won't run if the screen is off on the Magic V5. And you can use the V5 itself as a touchpad, or like I've done, I like to use a mouse and a keyboard that's Bluetooth to the phone, so it works great that way. Now, hooking up the Honor Magic 8 Pro, got the same results, okay? There was no difference. It's not any quicker, doesn't work any differently, really. It's exactly the same. And you can open up multiple apps. And I really like it because you've got your app drawer here on the side, so you can open up as many apps as you want to. You've got your bar down on the bottom. I mean, it feels just like using Windows and any other really PC, even a Mac, where you've got all your windows, you got your icons on your screen if you want them, you got them down the dock down below. So it really works great. Now, I did do a comparison with the Samsung DeX As you can see here, I plugged that thing up and oh my gosh, it got clunky. I don't understand what they did with DeX. It's not improved. I updated it and everything, and it used to be really good. I used to really think DeX was the best one out there. But check this out. You don't have the functions at the top of the screen or the corner of the app anymore. The minus, the square, and the X. No, you got to touch this line in the middle and get the things to drop down and then shoot. It's annoying. It took me a while to figure that out and find that. And for the life of me, I could not get apps to snap to the side so I can do the split screen. It's crazy. I had to actually manually split them and size them to put them on the sides. It wouldn't do it like the Honor did. That's crazy. And I thought DeX was really great, and it just doesn't work the same. Maybe I'm doing it wrong, and some of you can correct me there in the comments below. But for some reason, DeX just did not perform well. It used to. I don't know what they did. I think they're trying to get away from that Chromebook feel because it was set up very similar to a Chromebook, but they're trying to get away from that. So I don't know what's going on, but I didn't like the way it worked. That's just me. I'm not trying to bash Samsung. I just felt that the Honors did a much better job. Now let's jump into another area that I'm sure a lot of you are wondering about, and that is photography. Is the cameras on the 8 Pro much better than the V5? Well, 200 megapixel zoom lens 3.7. That's incredible. All right. They both have 50 megapixel main shooters, so that's not bad. And I believe they both have the same processing or software and the AI, although it may be a little bit more improved AI on the Honor 8 Pro, but they seem to work very similar. So as you can see here on the photos, they're very good until you start to zoom. Then when you go into that real big time zoom, of course, that 200 megapixel lens really takes the cake. And as you can see here, you can see the guardrails on their balconies on the 8 Pro photo where it's kind of more blurred on the V5. Now, it still outperforms a lot of other cameras out there, and I'm looking forward to the V6. It's probably going to get up there and match that of the 8 Pro, except that maybe their 200 megapixel camera will not be a periscoping zoom like it is on here. So we'll have to see how that works out. So as far as camera goes, the Honor Magic 8 Pro does beat the V6 in most cases. And even at night, as you can see here, I did a little selfies at night, and they look pretty close, the same when you're in the light. But when you get into the darkness, here's a little quick short video of me walking around in the dark. You can see here, they're both about the same. Okay, I think you might get a little bit more improvement out of the 8 Pro, but not a lot. So if you're looking to getting the 8 Pro for better photography than the V6, I believe you get it with that 200 megapixel lens, but it's not a huge leap in better photography. Now, a lot of folks want to ask me, they ask me all the time, how about the cellular network? How does it work on cellular? Well, they both work great on cellular. I have T-Mobile, and as you can see here, set them up, and I can actually run the test on both of them at the same time on cellular. And you can see that the actual 8 Pro is a little bit faster. I don't know if it's because it's a new radio. I kind of thought it was the same, but it seems to be running a little faster. And then when I connect it to my home network, same thing. It runs a little bit faster on the 9 Pro. And I don't know if that's because the chip is allowing it to run a little bit faster or what, but I believe they both have the same Wi-Fi module inside. So I'm not quite sure why it beats, but overall, but as far as performance, you do get a lot more speed out of the 8 Pro than you do the V5. But I can tell you, you see those speed tests, it doesn't really matter. They're both fast. Now, just kind of wrap things up here. My personal thoughts here. I really like this Honor Magic 8 Pro. I've really grown fond of it, and since I've had it, I go for it more than I do the Honor Magic V5, unless I want to watch videos. Then I open this up because it's got the bigger screen. But on the outside, you've got the bigger screen on the Honor Magic 8 Pro. I really like that, and I really like that it has that 3D camera in the front to give you better security for your facial unlock. But I can tell you, in the long run, I'm sure I'm going to go back to my Fold because it's just a whole lot more versatile having that screen on the inside. I mean, when you hold them both side by side, they're very close to the same as far as using them. But when you open them up, or when you open this one up, that's when everything changes. So now my next video is most likely going to be the Honor Magic 8 Pro against the S25 Ultra. Yes, I know the 26 Ultra is coming out tomorrow. I will get it for a while if I even do purchase it. But I could tell you right now, they're not going to match the camera and the functionality of the Honor 8 Pro. And me personally, I do think that all those extra cameras they put on the S25 Ultra is more gimmicky than anything else, especially when you can get all those same shots actually better having a periscoping 200 megapixel lens. I'm sorry, that dedicated 10 megapixel lens, it's only 12 megapixels in the Samsung, isn't going to cut it. Even the 50 megapixel periscoping 3x zoom lens isn't going to cut it. Matter of fact, my Honor Magic V5 beat the S25 in that. And I'm kind of giving things away, so I'm going to wait for the video to come out and to check that out. So now it's time to hear from you. What do you think? Do you like the Honor Magic V5 and are you waiting for the V6 and you excited about that? Or does this really kind of perk your interest? It's definitely going to be my secondary phone for quite some time because I'm really enjoying it. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on those further videos that are going to come forward here. If you want to see the Honor Magic 8 Pro up against the Vivo X300 Pro, check out this video here. Until next time, have a wonderful day. God bless.